Hi, today I'm going to go over with you some things related to a very popular Inventor tool called Sweep. We're also going to talk about using some tools called parameters. Okay, so just to let you know, right here I've got a couple of things created already. That way we're ready to go. Zooming in, you can see that I have this little circle here. This is going to be a profile that we're going to use. And you can see that I've got this larger profile here, this larger piece of geometry with a couple of curves and lines in it. And that's going to be our profile. That's going to be our path. So you can see that there's two things that we're going to definitely need. We're going to need a profile, and that's what we're going to have swept. And we need the path of where we're going to sweep it. Okay, so we need to have those two things created in advance. So to use this, I'm going to go up to the Create tools. I'm going to go ahead and click on Sweep. And you can see in the pop-up window that we have, it's got two pieces of input geometry. We've got our profile, which it has already selected the one profile I have, the circle, which is what I want. Now, if it doesn't select that for you, you have to deselect this and select the correct item. Then I've got the path. Okay, I can just make sure that my blue line is here. That means it's looking for the path. And I can go over and select the path that I want. And you can see it gives me a nice preview of what it's going to do for me. Now, just a couple of notes under behavior. There's a couple different orientations we can use. We can use our follow path orientation, where basically the profile is going to be swept around the path. Okay, we can also use the second option, okay, which is fixed. Now, if we go around curves or anything like that, it's going to have an interesting effect, and here it won't work. And then we can also use this operation here for if we want to use different guides. We want to use rails or surfaces to change what the sweep looks like. But we don't need to worry about that. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the follow path. Now in the follow path, we can also change taper and twist, and that'll basically change what this looks like. If I had a square shape, it would actually change the taper, making it get smaller and smaller as it goes to the end. Or the twist, it can actually have it twist around. But since I have a circle here for the profile, I don't need to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And you can see there's my paper clip. So it looks pretty good. If I zoom around, you can see that it did exactly what I had expected to. Now, another thing that we can use is something called parameters. Now, parameters, before I get into parameters, I just want to show you some of the dimensions of the features that I've used to create these. If I go into my first sketch, or my second sketch here for the profile, now double click in that to go into that so you can see what the dimensions are. Okay, and the dimension is a wire diameter of 0.02 inches. Okay, now if I go to the other sketch, you can see this is the sketch for the path. Now there's some dimensions that I want to go ahead and put parameters in. That way I can make sure I don't have any interferences. Now parameters will be very useful if you need to make changes. You can go in and change some of these dimensions without having to go into the sketch. You can just go into the parameters and change them there. Now, if you take a look, I have this dimension right here, this 0.032. If I change my wire diameter size, if it gets too big, there's a possibility that it could interfere. And the same is also going to apply on this side. If my wire diameter gets too big, this would also interfere here. So I'm going to probably look at changing this 0.032 and this 0.215. These are the only two dimensions that I'm going to play with right at this second to make sure I don't get any interferences. But you can also change some of the other dimensions as well. Okay, so we're going to get out of this sketch and we are going to go over to the parameters area. Now the parameters area, if you go to the very, very top, you can see this FX button. I'm going to click on this, and it pops up all the dimensions in all of my sketches. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do, this 0.032, you can see the nominal value. This is how I've drawn it. But the equation, if I want to change this dimension and put it in an equation based on some other parameters, this is where I would do that. So my wire diameter is this D7, this 0.02. And you can see I remember that because I wrote it down. That's a good point to write down some of these dimensions and the parameters so you can remember what they are. I'm going to go ahead and change that to 2 times D7. And when I hit enter, you can see that it updates. Okay, I'm going to hit done, and obviously nothing has changed. Go into the parameters button again, and let's say I want to change my wire diameter to 0.03. I don't have to change it in the sketch, I can just change it here in the parameters, hit done, and there we go. Now the issue is you can see that it maintained that clearance here, but on this side I did not change the parameter yet, so the paperclip interferes on this side. So if I go back up to my parameters again, and the other dimension, this 0.215, I can change that to D2 plus 2 times D4. Now I already have this pre-written down, so you might have to do a little bit of planning ahead of time. And I hit done, and it went ahead and fixed the paperclip. So the paperclip doesn't interfere at all now because I went ahead and modified those parameters based on the wire diameter size, so I can maintain the same amount of clearance. So that is very useful. Now let's say that that paperclip is kind of short and squat. So what I could do is I can also go in and modify some other dimensions to make it a little bit longer. I'm going to go ahead and change this to, I'm going to change my D6 dimension to 0.8. And I'm going to go ahead and change my D5 dimension to 0.6. And I hit done, and you can see that it stretched it out a little bit more. So there you go. That is a quick review how to use sweep and a quick review how you could use parameters. These could be very useful commands when you're using Inventor.